it's on. Okay, so now I will read the small text. That's you are seasoned adventurers. Together you form the name your company or fellowship. Your high deeds have earned your respect throughout the land. So right now we need to find a name for the company. Usually, finding the name first makes it really easy to imagine what characters can be part of this fellowship. Because, as you might remember, if you've read the description of the game, we will play a company or a fellowship of adventurers who are lost in a dungeon after a tragedy, and they are trying to survive. And the key to survival is letting go of the grudges they hold against each other. Okay, there are no real tactical challenge here. It's only story and relationships between the characters. Or we will try to play like that. Usually it works, so we'll see. So first thing, the company. I have a list of names in the book, but of course they're in French. So I'll try to translate them really quick. What I've listed was the Blue Moon, so the Fellowship of the Blue Moon, I guess. The Raging Wolf, the Fool's Gold, the Company of Saint Methel, the Children of Gutla. I don't really know what the names mean here. We all have to imagine that. I have then the Order of the Secret Book, the Pact of the Five Kingdoms, the Silvered Oak, the Company of the Bear and the Fox, the Free Blades, and the Hounds of Melanodis. That's the names I have in the book. So either we choose one of them, or
they're also
whatever.
good.
Amazing.
I was thinking that we could call ourselves Gauntleteers and like imagining us as like little scouts, like 10-year-olds going off.
Don't think, maybe we can try that.
Yeah, no, that wasn't an entirely serious thing. But
yeah, in fact, we have to choose. We can play the game as a kind of I don't know how you say it, a parody, or not very seriously. Or we can play it seriously. If we play it seriously, there will be usually horrible things that will be said, horrible monsters, traps, and so on. But I've also played it in a real light style. I prefer the dark style, but we can do whatever we want.
So I'm good for a darker sort of experience for this one. I'm down with the survival aspect of it and connecting in that difficulty.
Okay. So I'm reading the Secret Book. 5 Fingers of the Gauntlet. That's good too. Secret Book of the Five Moons Kingdom. The Book of the Five Moons. Oh, whatever you want. I'm okay for everything. So we should just decide, and I'm not the one who will decide. So maybe we can vote. Or
I think Lou's the adult. I think he can decide.
Go on, Luke.
Yeah.
Also,
was that super loud?
Yes.
I reckon you should move rooms.
How do you say your name? I haven't met you before. Sandrones or
sorry. Actually, I'm quite nervous about playing in English because it's not really something I do often. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Julien, if you want in English. The nickname is Sandrone. This is linked to what I do on the internet. So I have a podcast. That's the name of my website. and so on. So that the name I use by default right now, and you can call me whatever you want, Sandrone or Julien or Julien, whatever is easiest for you. Okay. I live in Paris, in France, and well, I'm 40. I'm a teacher, and I don't know what you might want to know about me, but whatever.
Do you have any pets?
I don't have any pets. No.
Is this your first game?
In fact, it's my second published one, because I've published it's a hack from my first game. So last year I published De Mauvais Rêves. That's about bad dreams, and that's that was my first published game. And this one, this year, it's a hack for it. So the first game was maybe 80 pages long. This one, it's only 30 pages long. So you rely on the first game to play this one. And I have many more on the way.
I'm gonna go with talking about. I've been looking at the names. I think we should go with something with the secret book. I kind of if that's, I'm gonna move my vote there.
Okay.
Yes.
That's okay for me. Maybe we should go simple here and just pick the first name we agree on, and then we will build upon it on the during the game. So that's the main principle of this game. We begin with knowing not very much about the characters, but during the game we will learn to know them. We will explore their secrets and so on. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm already getting ready for my character to argue about how I wanted us to be called something different.
Yeah. This is good. This is the right spirit. So I'll write just here the secret book. And should do. So I write it on the fellowship sheet there. We can write some keywords if we imagine some to shape what we think about the company, or we can leave this blank for now. So I'll go on with the reading, and now we will talk about the dungeon we are exploring. So you are exploring the dungeon, and each of you hopes to find the conclusion of their personal quest inside. And so I have names again for the dungeons, but I think it will be harder to translate, but we'll try. So the Twin Crypts, on this one I don't know how, the Cyclops Cave, the Den of the World Bear, the Castle of Likeness, I think, the Great Hall of Memory Mirrors, the Impossible Mountain, the Floating Island of Meriades, the Home of the Mole Man, and the Tomb of the King of the Stars. World Bear, yes.
Yeah, Den of the World Bearer sounds awesome.
Yeah, I've already played one in there, so we'll see what it means today, because it can mean totally something totally different from the last time. So Den of the World Bear. Amazing. So now, alas, the exploring hasn't been going so well. You advanced fast, dealing with name the monsters you vanquished easily, stealing their treasures and relics. So we have to name a monster that will be part of the bestiary of the dungeon, and this monster should be a monster we can usually deal with easily. So what have I got here? I've got just one list for all the monsters. The idea is to create 3 monsters that we can use later on to know what lives in this dungeon. So we have the blood hunters, the tattooed goblins, the sliding shadows, the clickers, I think, the bone adepts, the mute sphinx, the sailing vampires, the feverish demons, the howling deads, the raging minotaurs, the harmonious crawlers, the false ancestors, the infernal diseased, the soul suckers, the flying eyes of the seventh kingdom, the sisters of disharmony, and the kings of cursed thrones. That's the monsters we have here. We can use easily a Burr cultist or anything else, whatever you want. It's okay for me. Turn off the word there. Okay. So what do you think? How should we call the weak monsters in this dungeon?
What are skeevies, Lou?
They're not anything. It was just they just sound like some sort of small, gross monster. You know, that kind of classic, like, skinny, weak thing that lives in the dark.
They sound like something.
I like skeevies.
Yeah, they sound like something that like moves along the ground, maybe like.
They sound wet.
Yeah, they sound wet. So they sound like they like vacuum cleaners. Like, you know, they eat the offcasts of bigger things in this dungeon, so they just forage on other discarded meat.
Okay, I think we can adopt the skeevies.
Skeevies. Is Ellen coming back? I miss her.
Yeah, she tried to move rooms, and now the internet's being weird. Just as a brief public service announcement, our internet twice today has dropped out for 5 minutes, but then come back on. So if we both disappear, we'll be back very quickly, but apologies in advance.
No problem. So we wait for her for the next part, I think.
Yeah, she's just struggling to get back on. She's
okay.
yelling from the other room.
All right.
I invented a monster, Ellen.
Let's see. The first of us who uses the skeevies can describe them. So we'll see if it's you or if it's someone else. Yeah.
I'm just going to run and see if I can mansplain the internet to her. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay.
While we're waiting, V, did you hear I got roped into doing Good Society at Arcanicon? And I'm going to wear a top hat and everything. It's going to be so good.
That is impressive.
I'm
very excited.
It's going to be the silliest. Oh, Ellen's back.
Hey, it's all working.
The internet is magic.
Yeah, sorry guys. Hopefully that doesn't happen ever again.
It's no problem. We can wait.
So we built a monster?
Yeah, the skeevies.
The skeevies?
Yes.
Or the skivvies?
Oh yeah, you.
Because
if you knit them together, it's
so
the skivvy.
Skivvies. So like really gross, sleazy, high neck sweaters.
Okay.
That's skeevy skivers. I don't know what was the actual description of what these things were.
I just named them, but we don't know what they look like yet until we encounter them.
It will be fun.
I tried to add in the chat before my internet derped out that I liked the shadow somethings.
I guess it was the gliding shadows, maybe.
Yeah, the gliding shadows. I thought that they could be like a good, like, high-end boss, just because trying to stab something shadowy is difficult.
Okay. So next, then the dungeon began to change. Its traps became lethal. Its monsters enraged, until the selfishness of the other, obviously, members of the group cost the life of your beloved party leader. They fell fighting, named the monsters that killed the leader, and you had to run. So, which monster did kill the leader?
Is this the shadows? Yeah.
Yeah, the gliding shadows. So.
Yeah, let's do it. That seems pretty sinister.
Gliding shadows. You've lost half of your gear and reserves. Hunger is starting to wreck your guts. And you are sure the name, the most terrifying monster in the dungeon, is after you. So who's the most terrifying monster?
I mean,
Go V. No. You.
surely it has to be a world bear related thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Ooh, can it be like a the world bear? I was gonna say, can it be like a lich bear, like some sort of like undead bear?
Yeah.
Zombies are really scary. Yeah, do that. That'll creep me out.
So, lich bear. Oh, that's okay. So you will tell the rest of this story together. Your group cannot survive if you keep holding grudges against each other. Only in unity and forgiveness can you hope to overcome the dungeon and maybe, just maybe, end your personal quest. But how could you do that? Know that, name your dead party leader, is no more. So I've got a list of names. I'll just read it for you. Padme the Just, Violet. Oh man, I don't know how to translate that. Gabrielle, the One-Eyed. It's harder for names. Jeanne the Mountain, Naniel Quick Eye, Halima Red, Liobar the Lion, Masha Mother of All, Richard Singjoy, Nissel the Ember, I guess, Axe Machine of Gods, Anna Frost Sorceress, I think, Ode of the Shield, Theo Golden Voice, and last one, Isham the Blade, I guess. Should have chosen first.
No, these are all so great.
Yeah, your things are doing that nice thing that when you translate stuff, sometimes they're coming out really nicely poetic. So that's a good sign.
I'm just trying. So, and this is the leader of the secret book. we might remember.
Julian, do you have one that, because we've contributed, I don't think you've chosen one yet, so you can't get out of it because you're equal with all of us.
Of course. I was thinking that I really like Halima Red or Narniel Quick Eye. I like that one. And I think the one I like the best is Masha Mother of All. So I think I will keep this one.
Epic.
Yeah, good choice.
Okay, so we can choose a character class for the leader right now, later, or never at all. It's just how we want it. So that is the dungeon. That what we know about it, and we just need to add, each of us add a room in the dungeons. You see, the space for the map is quite small because we don't really need a real beautiful map. We just need a few rooms that will help us prime the exploration, because the game is we will what we will play is 3 phases of play: the exploration, the time where we are around the campfire and we can talk about what happened, and usually things can get quite heated, and then there is the watch. And during the watch, while most of the party is sleeping, one of the party will be attacked by the monsters, and then you will see how it goes. So for the exploration, it's useful to have a few rooms in the dungeon. So I think I'll begin by adding one. I'll just go with the text here, because all we need really is just a name for the room. So for the Den of the World Bear, I think that we should have something like the how do you say that? How do you call a room where you keep all your food in English? I don't get the word right now.
A larder, maybe?
A larder, yeah. How is it right? This. Yeah, I got it. So I think I will. So I think that somewhere in the Den of the World there is the first larder. I don't know yet what it looks like, but it's maybe it's there. Up. And I just no.
I thought you said the best larder, and I was
No,
like,
the cursed. Oh, I'm sorry.
because I'm like, that's totally what my character was doing, hunting for the best larder.
The best larder. We can use the best larder. I like that too.
Maybe my character is a bit hard on hearing and
Maybe
had the wrong idea.
Okay, so during the exploration, what we will do is just draw the path to the room we want to explore. We can invent new room at any time, and we will just tell what happens when we explore, and then you will see there will be some adversity and things to think about. So you may add rooms, whatever rooms you want to add, and usually it's one room per character.
The Remains of Those Who Came Before is the most metal name for like a graveyard I've ever heard. I'm all about it.
I imagine that's quite a big room.
Yeah. And we still don't know who came before.
It started off as one room and they had to knock down the adjoining wall so they could have their structural supports put in for this giant room full of bones.
Lucky they had plenty of bones to build the room out of.
Okay. So we have the cursed larder, the remain of those who came before, the arboreum, the chapel of the ancient world bear, and the corridor of forgotten dreams. That's a nice dungeon. I think we will tell a beautiful story here. So now to the characters. To make a character, it's really easy. Usually, you have to pick a name, the description, if you want. You have to choose a class, but there are no fixed classes. So you just imagine whatever you want. You have a specialty. That's the thing you keep for the last minute or the last chance. What you really know how to do. Your secret whatever. And you have to pick then a quest. That's why your character is still an adventurer, because you have lived many adventures before and you still do that. So why do you still do that? And this is what you hope to find inside the dungeon usually. So here you can easily choose again anything. I've played looking for the blessing of a god, or one time I've played looking to drink the blood of a god. So it can be really anything, whatever you want. This is the two examples that comes to my mind right now. And then we have to choose each of us a grudge against another one in the group. We choose the target of the grudge and the short description, and we will write it in the fellowship parts here. And it's important to know that grudges affect only the people who hold them, not the people who are targeted by the grudge. And it will have an effect in the game. And on the side of the character sheets, you see you have two types of tokens, monsters and treasures. And during the exploration, we will gain monsters and treasures, or we might say we will gain treasures that can be material or completely abstract, links between us or whatever. And the monsters that the attention we attract in the dungeon. We'll have to use dice to see how much monsters or treasures we get. And so the class and the specialty can give us dice. Okay. The quest, once in a game, can help us lose all the monsters we have attracted. And then the grudges attracts the attention of the dungeon on us, on each of us. Okay. The main goal of the game is to erase each grudge. So you will see how we do that during the time we are gathered around the campfire. So let's go. So I think, nice. Yeah, I've forgotten to put a place to write the name of the player.
That's okay. We hacked this pretty hard. Am I if I have like a non human character, I'm thinking of like kind of a Bugman kind of thing, fantasy Bugman. Does that fit in tone for everyone?
For me, it's okay.
Cool. Yeah. Want to make sure I'm not ruining your game.
No.
I wanted to be some sort of animal hybrid as well, so I'm down for that.
Choose the wrong. Last time I played, I think I was an orc or something like that. So.
You quest, Sid.
Is it okay?
I don't want to put Dazzle.
Yeah,
All right,
cool.
I'll play Dazzle.
I'm going to make it worse, and I'm going to call it the warm belly of the world bear.
Drow's band. And it's like
The
time ran out,
warm,
like, you can pick.
moist
It's like,
belly
maybe Necro.
of the world
Maybe
bear.
Necro carry. They no, go Necro. Picks go Necro. So then Dazzle Necro lane just gets crushed by Centaur. Centaur picks up 3 hearts, a Reaver, hood, and brown boots, and just sits under our tower, doing 200 damage to it every hit, and just destroys our towers because he won lane so hard. He got a 25-minute Guardian Grave, and then it was like 40 minutes, and he had like 4K. He's like, what do I get? I'm like, just get Axe. Like, you have enough money for it right now. So save for Radiant. Okay, that's good. Like, it's on to take out Centaur and like Sam.
That's some high quality nerd talking you've got going in the background there, Sid.
Oh, sorry.
No, I wasn't being passive aggressive. I was just saying it was good nerd talking.
Yeah, man.
I liked it.
Cool. I think I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done too. I don't know what half of what I wrote means, but we will see.
Because I said,
yeah, I love that. I'm in the same boat, and I absolutely adore it.
It's all about inspiration.
Are we holding off on grudges, or are we creating them together?
I think we will create them together, just when we know just a bit more about each character. So I'll tell you about mine. So if anyone want to hold a grudge against Fright, you might. There is no rule to actually have a grudge against each character. We can even play with all the characters holding grudges against the same person. But usually it's not really fun, but we can do that if you want. So, Fright, it's a small artificial being, maybe a golem, but very small. And he's covered in rags. He smells of smoke and incense. He presents himself as a fire weaver, and he can control fire. Usually can produce it and make shapes about it, and whatever I might think about during the game. His specialty is to invoke the phoenix from deep inside him. So when he does that, usually he become really he emits some light, and then the bird just flies out of him, leaving him very weak after that. His quest is to find the Ever Ember, and when I was writing it down, I didn't know what it was, but now I think it's something that will keep him alive, because he's artificial, so he has to very frequently renew the embers that burn inside his belly. So if he finds it, maybe it will be okay for him. And he's usually not very talkative, and he can get quite angry. Okay, I think that's good for now.
I love that character so much. Thank you. That's so cool.
You have like such a strong picture of it already. So do you want to go next?
Okie doke. So I am playing a character whose name is probably impronounceable with my human tongue, but I'm going to go with Zsk. They are a multi-eyed bug person. I threw a link to an image in the chat too that you can take a look at if you'd like. They stand as tall as a man and walk kind of hunched over, weighed down by their big, heavy chitinous exoskeleton, leaning on a kind of a bladed staff. Where's my sheets? Which makes them a pilgrim. Is their class specialty is the protective exoskeleton. I think that's probably what got them this far. There are probably very few things that regular monsters would have that would get through that like hard shell across the back. Although I imagine there's probably like a tender underbelly that you could get to. My quest is to lay my young in the warm, moist belly of the world bear. I don't think it matters whether the world bear is alive or dead when that happens. I think I just will find it. And and then I will lay my young in its belly, and then they will burst forth, and my people will be stronger. That's what I got. If you got a grudge against them, I would not blame you. Yeah. Yeah, V's already lining up. In that case, V, why don't you tell us about Cedar?
Cedar's an older sort of gentleman. He's a crotchety old man, but his skin's like quite taut. It's been obviously out a lot in the wilderness, and he's laden with bags and pockets full of useful things he's harvested from the natural world around him. So he's sort of like, sage is probably not the right word, like a bushcraft kind of person, but person with knowledge of the natural world. Some people call him a sage, that is his specialty. And his quest is to retrieve the dream he lost as a boy. So he didn't really want to come on this, except that because there was the corridor of forgotten dreams. I think he has a very special dream that he needs to get back. And I think Cedar definitely has a grudge for that bug-eyed thing, because yeah, we'll get to it, but it's probably like it's not a grudge so much as I think he thinks he's better than you, and that will be interesting to explore.
You're more than welcome to be misled. I'm okay with that.
Well, I might as well introduce Lottie. She is an old woman / dog creature of like the Marama sort, if you know what they are. She is like bipedal, so she's on like 2 feet, but she probably looks like a big bear type dog creature, and with long grey white dreadlocks, and she's stubborn. She just like really single-minded. She has been working as a bishop since she was young, and her role of a bishop is, essentially it's a fancy term for a mercenary. She gets assigned by the church to what projects she needs to lend her brute strength to, and all she wants to do is just get through the jobs to make enough coin so she can retire. This is probably going to even be her last job, hopefully. She's been promised a lot. And she is really not stoked on fright. In her day, back in her day, these artificial creatures were created to serve, to do a job, not to carry on about their own wildish fascinations. Like, they break, you get a new one. You don't try and keep it going forever. What a crazy idea.
I really like it.
Yeah, she is a bit of a racist grandma.
Yeah.
I've got Spine. She's a really big woman with like a massive pack full of books, and probably a belt with books and like a bandolier with books on it. Her class, she's an archivist. I had librarian, but I think she's more of a like documentarian, or a historian. She's all about recording things as well as knowing things. Her speciality is esoteric knowledge / useful secrets. So knowing the right thing at hopefully the right time. And her quest is to document the World Bear's final words. And I'd say my grudge will very likely be against Cedar, who has entirely the wrong sort of knowledge, who has invested he has invested his time in worthless pursuits of worthless knowledge.
I think that I have my grudge too. And I think it's against Cedar too, because it didn't let me burn down a secret tree to fire my belly. So it's really not right. You should have let me burn this tree. It's not so holy after all.
Oh, that's so good. But yeah, I was just writing Cedar is like focused on the past instead of the future and like continuing his line. But you were saying that you're certainly carrying something that offends me. I wonder what that would be. Is it something that you like would have taken from me, or is it like something that
you or
what are
your
you thinking of
kind?
there? Yeah.
It could be, you have a hard shell, so it might be that there's like the shell is it's like wearing fur, right?
Oh yeah. Or like poultice made out of eggs.
This cultural appropriation will not stand. Yeah, I think you've probably got like yeah. Is there something that you know would be? Oh man, I think we explore these later, do we? Because I just want to sit here and unpack this right now. But okay, let's do it. CD, you're the worst. I'm gonna figure out why as we go.
Okay. So I think we are ready to begin the game. So I'll just explain the exploration phase first. So the game, we usually play one exploration phase, one campfire phase, and one watch phase. And then if we want to continue the game, we begin the cycle again. And we can play this cycle once, twice, or many times. It depends on the time we have and the fun we have. So usually the exploration phase is the longest because we each have a turn to speak. So the principle is actually simple. Each of us, we will explain how we take the lead on the exploration. It's usually, it's not, how to say that? You don't have to be the one that leads the party physically, but you may just, this is the phase where your character is important for the exploration. Okay, so you describe what your characters do, what he find, and so on. You have total control over the exploration at this moment. And at one time during your description, one of us will present you an obstacle, something that prevent you from going further. It can be a trap, a monster, a situation, whatever we can imagine. A choice, maybe, sometime. And then, with the obstacle, we will assign gravity or maybe a difficulty, but it's not really a difficulty, of 1 to 3 monsters. So it's the attention that the character will bring to himself during this scene if he doesn't manage it properly. And we'll see how we do that. And with the obstacle, we also ask a question about the character. It's usually a loaded question, a very dramatic question about his past, about his feelings, about whatever we want. And we have a rule here that if you don't like what the question is about, because the question can usually say things about your character that you might not want to approve, you might refuse the question. and it has an effect in the game, but you should always know that you can do that. We didn't talk about the X card, but I think you know about that. So, okay. I really, usually I tell everyone that the people we play with are more important than the game itself. So we take care of each other and everything will be okay. So the questions can be quite hard sometimes, but it's really fun to do. So you see how far you are willing to go. And then when we have an obstacle and a question, the player was describing the exploration, will tell us how he managed this obstacle. Managing the obstacle can be you can resolve it, you can lose against it, you can flee, you can do whatever you want. Then we will roll the dice. Okay? Run out of got it. Yeah, that's an awful obstacle. And then we roll the dice. So each dice that comes with a 4, 5, or 6, this is d6, will transform one of the monsters into a treasure. The treasures will go to a pool. That's the common pool for all the party. And the treasures will be then given to the members of the party during the campfire. But some of the treasures will disappear when the camp is made because it's what we need to survive. Okay, whether it's abstract treasure or real material treasure, we will decide. It has no importance. So, if we tell how we manage the obstacle, whatever we tell, that's one dice. If we answer the question, that's one dice. If we use in the description or a class, it's one dice. And the specialty, it's one dice too. So you can end up with 4 dice against 1 to 3 monsters. Okay? If there are any monsters left, they don't go to a common pool, they go to the character because it's the attention of the monsters that he or she or they attracted. Okay? So usually I offer the choice. Either I begin with describing the exploration, or I begin with asking the question and giving an obstacle or a difficulty or something. So whatever you want. If someone wants to go into the exploration and describe what we find in the world bear, knowing that we are not at the entrance of the dungeon, we are somewhere inside. We maybe it's just the first moment we have to breathe out a little bit after the death of the leader, of the mother of all, and the situation is quite tense, and so we can begin the game. And when all of us has had our exploration phase, we can forego the exploration phase. We can say that no, I don't want to do that for now, and then we will go to the next phase. Okay. So what do you want? Should I begin with the exploration, or should I begin with a question, a hard question for one of your characters, and maybe an obstacle or something? We try to let everyone have a question, but if we are not inspired, if we don't have any ideas, we should come to the help of the others. Okay?
Do you mind if we just have a quick break? I just need a drink of water.
Yeah, of course. Break. Yeah. I think I'll do the same. Okay, so I guess 5 minutes, or that's okay? Nice.
Julian, how's it going?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going really well. I'm very much enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've hesitated about just creating a set of characters, but I think it's more fun like that, so that we create all of this together, even if it's a shorter game after. But I've played maybe 1 hour and a half game or 2 hours game, and I've played also 4 hours game. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, good to go for everyone? Okay. So who wants to take the lead for the first part of our exploration?
It looks like Luke does. He's asking for a hard question.
Okay. So let's go. Up. So I'll mute myself.
So, do I use one of these map areas to describe what we are doing?
Only if you want to. You might create another area or anything. That's
And I'm just doing free description.
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready.
Good.
Yeah, so I think this is very soon. We've lost Marcha, the mother of all, and we're I think we're like, imagine there's like a camera down the end of a really long straight corridor. This corridor's it's almost, I guess, it's almost perfectly spherical. Like, I guess we, as an audience member, it looks like a huge pipe or something, and it's slowly descending. But this opening shot we get is the kind of small silhouette of the party, like running towards the perspective, and you can hear all this like deep breathing, and I think you can hear sobbing, and I think we see Spine in the lead. She's a really big woman, and she's trying to she's kind of looking behind her as if there's some sort of pursuit, and she's trying to pull a like a particular book from her pack as she's running, and she kind of gets the book down, and she's looking to see if everyone's there, and she's kind of got all these little like implements attached to her. I think she pulls out a little kind of lantern with a globe in it and shakes it, and this kind of there's a glowing light in it, and she's trying to like read and run and check if everyone is there at the same time. And I think maybe by this time we've kind of gotten up to the perspective of the you know, the camera or the audience's eye is, and you can kind of get a really good shot of like each of us as we like run in towards the camera. Is there anything else that I need to do? I think that's
No, that's okay. So
cool.
Usually I try not to interrupt too soon the description, but sometimes a player doesn't have any ID, so I go straight directly to interrupt him or her. So I think that when Spine is finally reading a book, she finds inside the pages maybe one of those small monsters, the skivvies, or how you pronounce them, and it's been burrowing inside the book. And if it's inside this book, who knows what other books have been eaten by this. So the obstacle, I think, is what do you do about that? And the question is, why? I have many ways I can go with this, but I think this book is important for you. Very important. It's important because you have sacrificed someone to get it. And my question is, who did you sacrifice to get the book? And I can even go further to show you how you can do it. And maybe it's which of your brothers did you sacrifice to get the book? Okay. So now you explain us how you deal with the situation, and you can answer the question or not. It's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that this obstacle, this problem, is worth maybe 2 monsters. So I'll put them on the map. They are a bit far. Okay, 1 and 2.
So I think that like the secret book, this organization that we're a part of, we have a headquarters somewhere that has this massive library and archive that's kind of records of the it's the history of the book, like of the organization throughout its time. And I think the book that I'm carrying now is the most recent, like it's the story that I've been writing of this exploration as we've approached the den of the world bear and what has happened so far. And I think perhaps the brother that I sacrificed to receive this book, it was actually before even like entering into the secret book. I think we get this little like kind of like flashback thing, and it's I think we see Spine, as a girl, kind of receiving this letter at the door of a house in a city, and she looks down at it, and it's got a name on it, and she looks around to see if her parents are around, and kind of runs to a room and opens it up, and it's a letter saying that her brother has been chosen to become an archivist, that like the application has been successful, and it's a scholarship to be a part of this thing. And then I think we see this little montage of her kind of forging or reforging the the letter, like removing the ink and inserting her own name into the thing. So I think it's like a it's not a literal, like, you know, I guess her brother's still alive, but she's taken his destiny in some way. And then I think we see her maybe being given this book as a new kind of a newly arrived archivist as a young woman, like when she arrives, and it's the book she's maybe been like keeping all the stories of her travels in so far. Yeah. And that concludes that.
Okay, so now we look at how many dice you can use. So we decide together. You mentioned the fact that you are an archivist quite so that counts. You answer the question, so that counts too. I don't think your specialty was used here, and I don't know if you told us how you managed the monster in the book.
Nope.
So you can do that now if you want.
I don't think I think it's actually just gonna freak her out. I don't think it's something that she can maybe deal with.
Okay. So you've got 2 dice to roll, and you've got 2 monsters to transform into treasures. So we'll see.
Sweet. 2d6s I'm rolling?
Yeah, that's it.
A 6 and a 5.
Okay, so that is excellent, because you can transform each of the monsters into treasures. So I'll just put the monsters aside, and I'll take the treasures. I put them here. So 2 treasures for us. We need to have at least 5 treasures when we get to the campfire, because we have 5 players. And if we don't get all those treasures, we will have to blame someone for this. So we'll see. Okay, so who wants to go next?
I think I'll just finish.
Yeah.
I'll finish off my thing just with Spine like screaming that there's skeevies all through her precious books, and she's just slapping at her books and slamming them closed and stuff. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Nice. So there is no real turn order.
You muted yourself then. I don't know if you meant to.
I had an idea in terms of Cedo seeing that I think the most likely place that Cedo would be wanting to go to is the Arboreum, because there's going to be useful resources to harvest there. You can make a really good skeevy repellent out of some of the leaves there. We can get patched up. We need to rest. We need to recover. And the best way to recover is, we all know, around some plants. So I think seeing that spine is sort of freaking out about it, kind of like Cedar puts her hand into her and says, "We'll get through this. I know how to deal with those skeevies. Even if you don't."
Spine totally shrugs off your reassuring.
Yeah. And Cedar doesn't really notice, in the sense of like, it's this way, I can see that the moss is dripping off the ceiling in this direction. We should head there. And I think when we get to the arboreum, so am I right in what an arboreum is? It is where plants are, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's I imagine it's like sort of like we're in a cavernous space. So it's actually like a indoor sort of, where it's like a lot of rocks, where it's kind of filtered through the dirt on top, and there's moss growing everywhere. There's maybe some fungal growth here. There's bits of shafts of sunlight that are poking through from somewhere way above us, and in those small patches of sunlight, some life has been able to push through, and I think this is somewhere that Cedar would feel more comfortable with and more in his element. And he doesn't care what anyone else thinks or feels. He feels more comfortable here, and so he's come to this place. And I think what he does is immediately start to look around and pick a few useful leaves, sort of moss, grabs a handful of moss, and a few other bits and pieces. Yeah, so I think that's sort of the scene of the arboreum. It's probably something dangerous around here, but we'll find out.
Yeah. So I think that someone, and look, well, it's probably being larger and more ungainly, stumbles, like, instead of staying on the path, stumbles through the plants, and they hit some of this fungus, and it like shoots spores out into the air, and half of the group just gets covered in them, and they're like thick and yellow, and they probably settle heavy, so they create a layer in the air where they are. And oh, cool, Ellen can be bubbling in. Oh, Lottie would be so great because she's like a big dog, so she like, yeah. And like her fur, like where it's all grey and like hairy, it just goes like a sick yellow, like a putrid yellow. And I think that's going to be the obstacle. My question to you in this as well is, you have used these, like, you're familiar with this fungus because you've used it to poison someone before, and I was wondering if you could show me who that was and why you poisoned them. Why you used plants against them?
Yeah, I think that certainly what happens as this yellow dust settles on Lottie's fur, there's a moment where Cedar kind of like takes note, thinks for a moment, and then decide, it's like when a doctor looks at you sort of like, maybe, but it decides that it's okay. Like maybe and you're not quite sure if there was a thing there or not. But clearly Cedar has decided that it's not going to harm her. And I think what goes on in Cedar's mind is, as is identifying that particular spore, it's very similar to the strain that, the kind that was used, that is a more potent version of it. So I think from experience, Cedar knows that you actually have to process this to make it more potent, and remembers like him working that out when the mother of all asked his help. One of his first is so being like an initiation sort of thing, right? Like prove your worth to be. And the book is known throughout the land as being such an exclusive club, such a I mean, how would you refuse the mother of all when she is what gives everyone else life? So I think that is the reason Cedar does it. It is out of a mix of someone asked him to do it, and he just wanted to apply his intellect, and so he did. He didn't even see how the person was poisoned. He made the concoction, coated a blade in it, several blades, and then the blades were taken away. The job was done. Yeah.
I need to give you monsters. I think that I kind of want to give you a singular monster for this. I think that we fictionally. It seems pretty low key. Lottie's just jaunting through some mushrooms. We'll call it a singular monster.
Brilliant. So, in terms of number of dice, answered your question.
Yeah. You used your knowledge of nature, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You answered the questions. The question.
Yep.
I don't know if you use the sage class. It's
not so much.
Don't think so. I don't know. Okay, so you have 3 dice, 3d6, and that's fortunate that you have only 1 monster because you generate just 1 success here.
Just the one.
Just the one.
That was, yeah, that's because it is poisonous, but I have deemed it just not poisonous enough.
Just.
All right.
You're gonna have some interesting toilet time for a couple of days, Lottie. But you'll be okay.
Okay. I just forgot that we begin with some treasures and some monsters. So everyone has 2 treasures and 1 monster just on their character at the beginning. It's not really useful now, but it will be useful later. Okay? Okay, so we are in this arboreum with some spores. Who wants to go next?
I'd like to go next. Like shaking off this gross fungus spores and getting a bit hungry. Don't know if it's a side effect from the fungus or what, but I just am feeling ravenous, so I start sniffing around. Nothing in the arboreum is any good for me to eat. Sniffing around outside the cavern of the arboreum and like follow my nose to a small crevice, and something smells so delicious in there. So I get down on my knees and paws and start digging and one paw too many and the soil drops away and I'm able to stick my whole head in through this hole that I've dug at, and I can see this giant cavern. Can't even see the top of it from where I am, and it's just floor to forever for bones, stacked skulls and bones and bits and pieces of clothes and trophies and weapons and jewels, and I want one of these bones. I can see a bit that's still probably got a bit of like rank flesh on it. I'm gonna get into it. So I like wiggle my way into the cavern and I like start like pounce on this bone, and like a femur, like a foot falls off, like a shoe with a foot, and it's just like this bit of rank flesh, and like and start to hear rattling bones, and my ears prick up, but I'm pretty hungry, and I can see like movement in the corner of my eyes, and I'm like guarding my bone. Grrr.
Yeah. And I think you're guarding your bone and you're gurring at the noise on that side, but actually it's behind you that a voice whispers, "Why are you eating my leg?" And I think it's like this, it's before it becomes a gliding shadow, it's like a vengeful spirit, right? And it's still like fresh enough, which is why probably the good smelling stuff, it's fresh enough that it hasn't quite fallen into the corruption yet, and it's sort of confused as to where it is. It's on its way out, the spirit, but still hanging about. And I think the spirit, sort of as the spirit says that to you, the question I want to ask you is like, Lottie, how much of her is dog and how much of her isn't, and what is there anything you wouldn't like? Where does the dog end in you? I guess, where is that edge, if there is one?
Yeah, well, I guess it comes down to like loyalty to the church, loyalty to, you know, the mother of all. Like, I'm kind of over it. I just want to like get my gold and live in comfort. And I think like if you know like dogs, especially like Maramas, they'll do their job until they physically cannot do it anymore. And Lottie is like, it's really cynical about it all. Like she quite enjoys a lot of the dog aspects of herself. Like when this vengeful spirit asks her, like, why are you eating my leg? Lottie's like,
so polite.
Yeah. Why are you eating my leg? Lottie's like, because I can. And also it is delicious. Like, she just wants to revel in the like being big and tough and getting what she wants. And I think like her hackles at the back of her neck, some of her dreadlocks are like standing upright, and she's like still like got the bone in her mouth, but her teeth are showing and she's ready to go.
Yeah, I think like there's a little escalation here where it's definitely like a chance for you to nip this vengeful spirit in the bud before it full on becomes a shadow that we have to be wary of. So yeah, what's us? I guess it's what was it, 2 for the yeah. So I'll put 2 monster tokens in there for defeating these mini shadow.
Yeah.
The shade. It's the shade before the shadow.
Yeah. Okay. So I've used my description. Correct me if I'm not doing this right, Sandra. Brute strength, I reckon, like, quest. I did drop my quest in there.
Yeah, the quest is for something else. Here, usually you use your class, your specialty, the answer to the question, and the way you deal with the situation. That's the 4 points. Okay?
Yeah, okay. Do you think I hit on those hard enough?
That's okay for me. So I liked
like
what you.
Yeah. Was that 3? Yeah. Seemed good.
All right. Cool. All right. Roll. Okay. So 6, 5, 2.
So the number you have to get is 4 or more at the moment because we are unarmed. But if we get hurt, it will be more difficult. So for the moment, it's okay. You just transform the monsters into treasures.
Yeah, I think I'd like when that vengeful spirit's coming toward me, like looking like glowing red eyes, like I will wreak vengeance, haha. Like spit out the bone and like pounce and go for the vertebrae where there would be a jugular, but and just like I think maybe one of you other guys probably heard the commotion, sorry, and like come and stick your head through the hole that I excavated and see me chewing into the leathery entrails of some poor soul.
So I'd like to go next, I think. Okay. I think that when Lottie has finished sort of meal, being small, Fright enters the area that you described with the treasures, the bones, and so on. And he looks around because he thinks that inside such a place, he might find what he's looking for. So he almost runs, leaving behind him a trail of smoke into the room and just plunges into the bones, the treasures, kind of, I think, he search of everywhere, going very fast. And I think that he leaves quite a mess behind him, having almost no regard for the bones that might have been someone before. Some of the treasures that he doesn't really like or does not interest him, he might break even. If it's a vase or something, it falls on the floor, it breaks. If it's parchment or books, I think that it's possible that it begins to burn. And it goes just around like this, trying to find something that will burn really, really well to keep going during this investigation, this exploration of the dungeon. And after a while, I think he stops right in front of something that I don't know what it is or why he stops. So that's for you to tell me.
Is this you or me, Luke?
I think it's me, or did you do it? I think Sid's already done a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can.
All right, this is me. I think what we don't see from Fright's perspective that we now see as it's there looking at this shadowy treasure is the more like shadowy kind of can I bring this deadly monster into it yet, or are we saving that? Yeah, I think we see the disturbing all of those bones. Maybe even that these gliding shadows were still kind of just tethered to the skeletons, but as they're disturbed, they kind of, stretch and break free and start to move up behind Fright. But I think as they approach, we see the kind of fiery light coming from Fright itself, and I think we. I think maybe it's it's not the Ever Ember itself, but I think it's something that Fright would know to be the it's like a what would you call it? It's a crucible, like something that the Ever Ember you would be able to contain it within, but the Ever Ember itself isn't within it. And I think as you see the disappointment in Fright's face, that's when the gliding shadows all kind of swoop in around. And let's say that seeing as these are deadly monsters, is it a 3 that 3 is the big challenge level? Yeah, we'll chuck that in there. Cool.
And do you have a question?
Oh, yes, the question. I did have a question and then I changed my... I guess why is it that Fright so desperately wants to unnaturally extend its life? Like why does Fright need to live longer?
Okay. So as the shadows jump on Fright, I think for a moment it disappears inside the shadows. We can see only blackness around him. And for a moment, we might think that Fright is lost, his life sucked out by the monsters. But then there is just a flicker of light coming from inside these awful shadows. And the light slowly grows stronger. And we can hear a shriek, very high-pitched. Something is moving inside the shadows. And just lines of fire appears on all the shadows. As you might... the vase that broke earlier, it's almost the same kind of fractures that appears on the surface of the shadows. And then it all explodes. And you can see a huge firebird that's rising from a small form that's on the ground, trying to protect itself. And from his back, which has opened, you see the enormous bird rising. And the shadows are burned, and also I think everything within a few feet of the small thing. It looks like almost a campfire, maybe, or a clay pot in which you can burn things. It has almost no appearance of a being, in fact. Like Fright has just become an object again. And then the object starts moving. And you can see that the eyes of the objects are burning very, very hot. And that's when Fright remembers. He sees a day that was very, very long ago. Maybe before any of you were born. The Masha, the mother of all, was a young girl. And you can see the young girl playing with a doll, a small clay doll that a father made her, maybe, or an uncle, or someone, anyone. But she likes the doll, and Fright remembers that it was the doll. It was the doll until Masha met someone who cast a spell on the doll that animated it and that gave birth to Fright. And until this point, he wanted to live longer, to be with Masha. Now, she's gone. So does he want to live forever? Maybe not. Maybe the disappointment finding the crucible is not such a disappointment. Okay? That's my answer.
Yay!
Yeah. So I think I answered the question. I used the Phoenix. I told how I managed the shadows and everything around Fright. And that's it. I didn't use really the Fire Weaver things. So apart from the specialty. So roll 3. And one success. So one monster is now a treasure. And the 2 other ones I will put on my character. And I think that means Fright attracted a lot of attention invoking a phoenix right here. And it also means that he just realized that as Masha is gone, it doesn't have any reason to live for. Or at least right now, that's what it thinks. Okay, next one.
Super sad. So you mentioned before with these maps that when we're doing the exploration, we can kind of create new rooms or end up in other places, sort of. Okay, cool. I think I want us to just okay. So we come to some time later, some indistinct time later, we come to the group and we're walking through black. Our vision is just black, but we can hear sound echoing really strong around us, and it's like we hear like the long nails of Lottie. Actually, do you have human feet, Lottie, or dog feet? You said paws about your hands before, but Your like bipedal bit.
Yeah, I reckon I have paws.
Of course, we hear like your like long nails
Flatter.
scratching on the stone, and the like the insect legs of just like scratching away, and then the padded feet of others wearing shoes, and then we hear a stone skip out ahead, and then the stone bounces off something, and we hear it like bounce and fall, and the sound gets further and further and further away as it descends down this giant unseen like pit, this like giant unseen well in the middle of the hallway. And still in darkness there's like the sound of feet scuffing and people bumping into each other, and I think just like heavy breathing as we finally, after enough time for everyone to slow and stop, we hear that stone like dunk at the bottom of wherever it fell. Who wants to obstacle me and ask me some questions?
Ask you some questions, Sid. So when we finally hear the dunk, that there is a brief moment of absolute silence. Like we're all like frozen in our steps, like listening out for whatever it was that dunked and how far away it was. And then just as we're like paused in this anticipation, the dunk is followed by this unearthly wail and screech, and from the well you can hear this screeching coming up the well, and it's getting closer and closer, and all of a sudden, like, there is an eruption of soot and mist with elements of almost lightning through it, because it's so dark in there. You like, all you can see is like this black dense mist and this screeching that's making your ear cavities like almost bleed, and this moment of absolute shock and fear reminds you of something in your home town. What was that thing?
Sorry, you just clipped after something in your home?
Oh, so that experience reminds you of something from your hometown or world. What is that thing?
Oh man, that's so good. That is so good. Oh. So the like look of electricity that you say feels a little bit different to me, because I don't like hear in the same way, and I don't see in the same way as the humans do. You know, I have the antenna which like light up with this extra wave of pressure on me, and it reminds me of back long ago. I think we probably have like okay, I got it. We have a really short lifespan. In fact, I've never been to the home country, but we have like a hive mind. We have generational memory, which is why like passing on our family is so important to us. And it reminds me of it like brings in this memory that I've had but never experienced before because it's not mine. And it is of a volcano that erupts in and it shoots this like black soot into the air, and as soon as that covers the sun, it just goes black, and the world is dark, and it's lit only by this like hot streaking lava that like snakes down towards the village, and people are trying to run and like gather up families, but that it's dark, and they're running into each other and like bouncing off their bodies, and they only like a couple of people get out, like just a few people, and generations or whole families are like lost, and all the memories that those families have are lost in there as well. And yeah, it's definitely like these like bug people holding like lava in their larvae from the lava in their arms, like they're cradling them like they're babies, and it's just like this overwhelming sense of like blackness and cloud and pressure and all that sort of stuff. And I think that that's why creating more generations is so important, because there's like 2 or so families left of my people, and they're like trying to repopulate our world through this, like in this where we are now, this new world where there's not really good areas for breeding and laying eggs and stuff. I love the lava's lava. It's so good. Did I answer your question? No, I still need to deal with this thing that's coming out. Yeah, I still need to deal with this challenge. Oh god. Okay, perfect. So I like regress right back to that memory, and I swoop up, like I run my antenna over the group, and I swoop up Fright in my hands and cradle it like it's one of the like small children. And so I've got like my top 2 arms cradling Fright, my middle 2 arms, one of them's holding this staff that I lean on, the other one like reaches back and with those like hooks that insects have, like stick onto Lottie's hair, like knot in her hair, and then I like pull down my head, and I probably like flare out my wings a little bit to like cover my own face, and then just drag us through this like this cloud of dust, or cloud of weird mystical force to like push through to the other side of it. We get down low and we go.
Yeah, sweet. I was gonna say that one's a 3-er.
Ooh.
I was thinking that it was going to be one of those slinking shades. Is that what we called them? Gliding shadows.
Ooh, yes, definitely. That's definitely how they feel as they like. I almost think of that not as like a single one, but like a group of them. That's like, because it sort of felt really overbearing.
Yeah.
Three's perfect. Let's fuck this up.
So, are those monster chips on the table? Are they for us to use in this bit now? Or did you move your monster chips? Okay, yes, you got your monster chips. Yes, I will use those 3 monster chips.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you did the description?
Yep, so I did the description. I gave you your answer, so I'm on 2. I don't think I did that protective exoskeleton thing, but I think I kind
You
of
kind of
hit.
you used your
Yeah,
body
you
to
did.
shield the team.
Yeah,
Like-
you totally did.
I think you're being gentle on me, but that's okay. What about pilgrimaging? You want to give me that one as well? I'll roll 4 dice.
Yeah, go on. You're certainly on a pilgrim.
Roll 4d6. Rolling dice. I'm finally playing a role-playing game. I have 2 successes, which means I'm taking a monster, and we are taking 2 treasures.
Okay, I think the first exploration phase is done. We all had a turn on it. So now we gather in a place that looks safe. Is it really? We'll see. But it looks safe. And that's the first time after we lost Masha, Mother of All, that we can actually take some time for us and talk about all this if we want to. Usually we have someone, the first who described his exploration phase, who can describe the place where we settle for a bit, and then we will. This person usually is the party leader for the moment. Okay, for each turn we have a different party leader. So now the first thing is that we to make the camp we use 5 tokens, 5 treasures here. So there are 3 left, and the party leader for the turn can assign them however they want. So I don't remember who spoke first. I think it was
maybe me.
Yeah.
Was it me?
Okay. So here you go. You do whatever you want with the tokens. You can give them to anyone in the group. You can keep them for yourself. All we know that they have to be assigned. Okay. But I should tell you a bit more about the phase before you do that.
Mhm.
So in this phase, when we talk, we can forgive the grudges if we think that the discussion and the action before really makes sense, you see. And to make a grudge disappear, we need 5 tokens. Okay, we begin with 2 of them, so it's quite hard. Okay, and we can also make our monster disappear either once in a game once in a turn, so only one person can do that. We can talk about our quest, explain our quest to the other. So that's one subject of discussion that we can go on with. And that will make all the monsters from that person disappear. Okay. Or we can also erase 1 to 4 monster if we acquire a new grudge. So this is something that we must think about, because at the end of this phase, new monsters will come, and we will get one monster, yes, per grudge we have. Okay. So right now we have only 1 grudge, so we will gain 1 monster at the end of this turn. Okay. So this is the first 2 things that we can do. We can forgive. We can blame. We don't have to blame because we have enough tokens, enough treasures. And then there is a small mechanic when a conversation is going on. You can just in the common area, you can put a monster if you how do you say that? If if your contribution to the discussion is negative, if you make the other one angry or so on. In French, we say put oil on fire. So I think you can see. I don't know if the same expression exists in English or not, but you understand
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And if you try to appease the discussion, you can put one treasure. And the principle is that every token that at the end of the conversation is in the common area can be used by everyone who talked during the conversation. Okay? So this is how we try to exchange tokens and so on. That is how we talk, because it's for me, it's really fun to put a monster just doing a remark or just a small phrase and put one black token in there. It's really fun. So I enjoy it because I'm a bad person, I think. So, and at the end of this phase, the character who has the most monsters will be the one who will be attacked during the night. Okay? So there is a responsibility with it.
Did you also say we started with
two monsters
two...
and two treasures? Two monsters, two treasures. Okay.
Cool.
And now we can let it go. We can talk, and usually it begins with the party leader giving or keeping the treasures that we have in excess here. So the three ones we have here. You can do whatever you want. And usually when I do that and I give a treasure to someone, I make a remark or I praise the person, or I explain why I give them a treasure, whether it's, as I said, a material treasure, something we found during the exploration, or it's only the acknowledgement that that person was important during that day. Okay? And of course, we can all answer, play our characters, and so on. We will try not to talk over each other, but it's a discussion and can be animated.
Did you say that I needed to describe this camp?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think we see carry us all like away from this like crackling smog, and kind of dragging us over rocks and climbing up some things. And I think we eventually get to I don't know what you call it. I think the cabin becomes really like small, and we have to like go through this area and up, and we're kind of in this little dead end cabin, but the smog isn't able to kind of rise up through this area. So we're in quite a small space. Maybe it has a bit of a natural, like it has kind of little tiny holes up above, but it feels safe, like nothing's able to get down through it. So now I give out 3 treasures. I don't seem to be able to grab the treasures. I can grab the monsters.
I'm working on it.
Sweet, thank you. I'm kind of tempted to spend them all on forgiving my grudge. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend all the treasure. So I started off with 2. I'm going to spend it all on forgiving, begrudgingly forgiving my my grudge against Cedar, just because of the so my grudge was pretty much that Cedar's knowledge was worthless, or that Cedar cares about the wrong things, but Cedar just totally got the scabies all out of my books. So I'm going to forgive that now. And I think the way that we see that is we it's such a small space that I think it's impossible to do anything without everyone else overhearing it. It would be really hard to. So I think we see Spine kind of like getting her breath back, and she's looking around, and somehow we're able to tell that she wishes that she didn't have to say this in front of everybody else, but she kind of gets her mobile library off her back and puts it down and is kind of flicking through it, and she kind of echoes that moment from earlier when Cedar tried to comfort her, and she really awkwardly kind of puts her hand on Cedar's shoulder, and she's like, I guess I had you wrong. I guess you're worth having around. I would have lost everything that I actually still care about if you weren't here. My memory is not that good. I'm used to keeping it all on these pages, so I'm glad that we haven't lost that. And then I think she says, she's like, I'm gonna sit down and write about Marcha now, and hopefully we'll make it out of here, and there'll be some record of what happened.
The record must reflect what happened here. Go. I will set up the campfire so that you may have light by which to read. I do know some nifty things.
Yeah, aromatic bark and nice things for fire.
And
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
At this time, I think you hear the voice of Fright that you don't hear often, in fact, and it's saying something like, "Yeah, you're right. We need to let go. I will light the fire for everyone. Rest, all of you. Rest." And this is, I think, something positive for the group. So I will put one of my treasures in the center. So when you will, in fact, spend the treasures to make the grudge disappear, you can use this one too. So you don't have to use all of your treasures. And then the small creature will, in fact, become the fire for the moment, until you bring enough wood to fuel it without him. So if anyone wants to talk or say something, you can, or we can end this phase here, just as you want. It's when we are in the first turn, usually this phase is quite short because we don't have many things to say at the moment. So that's exactly how you want to do it.
Right.
I just want to say there's definitely a scene that we see of this bug being like really inward and reserved and like trying to process this memory they're experiencing the first time. They look over and see Cedar, and Cedar's got like a necklace or a brooch or something with like made out of the exoskeleton of these bug peeps, and that visual of that brooch being like overcome by the smoke from Fright's fire is just like so powerful to me. Like to see, my people absorbed by smoke again, and you just keep wearing it out there like it ain't no thing.
Yep.
You monster.
It is. It's my fire lighting thing that I strike off.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I'm so angry about that.
Is that putting a monster token in the full ship?
I think between us, we definitely are doing that.
Lottie heads over to the burning fright and curls up in a ball and gruffly mumbles under her breath, but it's still clearly audible that it's about time that we saw the creature doing some actual work, not just gallivanting around for the sake of treasures.
So I think that obviously the conversation dies down. And everyone is thinking about all this. So we have here one monster and one treasure. So anyone who wants to use them to create a new grudge or forgive a grudge, you can use them. And if no one uses one of them, we will assign them as we think is a good way. And for example, I think that the last remark will definitely make Fright take one of these monster token. And that will bring Fright to 5. Which is okay because I can show you the next phase then. So it works for me. So who wants to? So you can do whatever you want. Use the token or not, or if we don't use it, someone will take this treasure for themselves.
What else can we use them for? Just to forgive the grudges? So you need 5 then.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry. For now, for this phase, you use them for this. But during the next phase, you see, I have 5 monsters on me, and I will have to fight them off, or at least describe the way I don't achieve fighting them off. And you will have, if you want to help me and to make one of my monsters disappear, you will have to spend one treasure and describe something. I will tell you about that later. But the treasures, they are used to make the grudges disappear and to help the one who's in difficulty during the night or during the short rest or whatever. Okay? This is it.
Cool. Yeah, so I will take that last treasure token if that's okay with everyone for now, and we will move on to the next exciting phase where we get butchered by monsters.
Yeah. In fact, I will get butchered by monsters, and you won't. So this next phase is quite. I think it's quite rare in role-playing games because I will describe the way my character is helpless in front of the monsters, and I cannot get away with it without your help. And so you will have to help me to get out of it. Do we go into that phase directly now, or do we make a quick pause or a break? What do you think?
Yeah, can we have one tiny little break?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
I'm having a really fun time though. I love it. It's not I'm not having fun break. I'm having fun.
Yeah, but I think it's okay to have breaks because it can be quite taxing to create and to describe as much as this game. So I usually take some breaks.
Cool.
Yeah, 5 minutes maybe, or shorter if you are back earlier. Okay. Yeah, for me it's 4.5 at the afternoon. So actually I worked this morning, teached 3.5 hours before coming here. Okay.
I just spotted your Dalek.
Yeah. I guess I have a pet.
Yes. Awesome.
Nice one, because he makes sounds too, but I don't think he can now. It's a bit old. No, it's dead. But it's
Aw, so cute. Hang on. Oh yeah, I've got a little ceramic.
you can detect movement.
I have a salt and pepper shaker.
Yeah, nice.
Nerds.
You know it. Hey, check out this awesome jumper, by the way.
Oh yeah, nice.
That wasn't a fart. It's a leather chair.
That's okay.
I'm so glad we're recording this.
Yeah.
100% wasn't. I'd own up if it was. Leather chair. Shut up. Turning the mic off now. Back to the game.
Yeah. So now everyone is settled for the night or for the rest in this small cave. And each one of the characters will take a turn standing watch while the other rest. And now, during one of these turns, this is when Fright is supposed to stand watch for everyone. And as I've said, oh, I forgot. As we settle, we gain one more monster token per grudge we have. Okay. So that makes 6 for the small Fright, and I guess we won't be able to save him totally, but it's okay. So I explain. I will describe the way he is ambushed or attacked by monsters while standing watch, and how, even if usually he would take care of the problem himself or itself, here it's impossible. He's really vulnerable, and it can't save himself or itself. So this is and when I will describe the first part, putting one of my monster token in front of me, and then one of you can help make this monster disappear. And there are 3 ways you can help. Each way, for each way, you need to spend a treasure token. Okay. The 3 ways are: you can tell a flashback of a previous adventure when Fright was really the hero of the group, the hero of the hour. And when you tell the story, it's not your character that will tell the story. It can be your character, but it's not. Usually, it's not. So that's the first possibility. The second way, you tell a memory of a real bright day, a day of joy with the other adventurers. Maybe we just fought in a dungeon and won. Maybe it was just a party. It was just a holiday or anything, but a real good moment for all of us. And the third way you can help is by implicating your character directly. You wake up and you help, but you have to remember that you are only an help for that. You don't take the spotlight. In fact, you just pass one weapon, or you encourage, you cheer up the group, or whatever comes into your mind. Okay. And here we have consequences if we don't make all the monsters disappear. First consequence: if Fright has any monster left when the description is over, that means that either you don't have enough token to make all the monsters disappear as a group, or you don't want to help him. That's okay too. You can decide that. Then on the morning, I will take a wounded token. And so, as I am wounded, as you see here, that means that the dice I roll, the success will be set on 5 or 6 and not 4, 5, or 6. So it gets harder during the exploration phase. If it happens a second time, I will be badly wounded. And this is a 6 only. Okay? So this is for Fright. And for all of you, if you end the night with more monsters than treasures, you will be wounded too. So helping has a cost here. Sometimes it might feel better to let the one who is attacked to his own problems, because he's the only one who will be wounded the day after. And sometimes it's good to help, or you do whatever. I think then that I don't know how much time we have, but I'm not sure we have the time to make another complete round of turns. So I think that after this phase, we will go into epilogue phase, and this will conclude the story. And during this epilogue, it's the same. If you have more monsters than treasures, usually it means something not really fun for your character. Maybe you're lost in the dungeon, or I will tell about that later, and so on. Okay, so I will start making my descriptions by putting my first token in front of my character sheet. And I'm donc Fright. So Fright, it's deep in the night, maybe the watch during the moment where right in the middle of the rest. And actually, Fright doesn't sleep ever. So usually he spends quite a lot of time standing watch. But he has to, lately, he has had trouble with his inner furnace. So it has to spend a long time trying to repair it, trying to find something to burn in it. But this time, this night, while he's standing watch, he didn't make any effort to find combustible things. And the fire inside him is quietly disappearing. While it knows that if the fire disappears, he will be lost forever. And during this time, I think shadows begin to creep on the walls of the cave you are in. And at first, Fright doesn't even notice them. So the shadows grow, they creep on the wall, and they completely block the entrance of the small cave we are in. And then Fright sees them. And when he sees them, he decides to burn his last bit of wood, coal, or whatever he has inside him to make them go away. And at this time, he finds that he can't make the flame burn hot enough to make the shadow go away. So that's it for the first monster token. Does anybody want to help this poor small lamp
Yeah. I
Yeah?
think Cedar does. I think Cedar in the commotion, you know, he's quite a light sleeper. He gets up and he sees that Fright's having trouble because there's not enough combustible material, and fishes in his pack, and it's a branch of the holy tree that I wouldn't let you burn earlier. But now my life is on the line. No, but now it is time to use it. So I think that's how I help.
Yeah. Right. So the first monster goes away. Second one, which will be the same shadow, at least for the moment. So Fright breaks the wood in small pieces and swallows them one at a time. He does that slowly because it's an important moment. Earlier, he wanted to use the wood to prolong its life. Now, it's only to endure the darkness and help the others live another day. And he begins to burn the wood much quicker than it is used to, trying to make the shadows go away. And indeed, they do, for a short time at least. The shadows go away. Big light coming from the eyes of Fright. But something else is coming behind the shadows, using the shadows as a cape or something like that. And with the big light coming from the eyes of Fright, we can see an awful form looking like a bear, but a dead bear. And it's coming right slowly, patient, towards the campfire. Maybe climbing on the walls and the ceiling. So that's the second one, and it smells bad. Yes, really, really, really bad.
Well, that's a subjective thing.
Yeah.
Look, Lottie was really not keen to do anything to help, but seeing Fright actually do his job, Lottie's like, yeah, all right, I'll help. And also that smells really great. I need to roll in that. Yeah. So I'll throw a treasure in and help out.
How?
How?
Yeah, how? You can, as I said, you can either describe just the little nudge Lottie will give to Fright to go on, or you can describe a happy memory for both of them, or a time when Fright was the hero of the hour.
Yeah, look, I don't think Lottie has any happy memories with them, but I think just standing side by side and like barking at whatever's coming, that's probably would help back up.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. And so, yeah, it's totally good for me.
I don't think I have any treasure left, so I think we see Spine looking at what's going on, and she's looking at her books, and she's got this look of like, can I give Bright one of these books to devour? And she's right on the edge of it, and then she just chucks the book back to herself and backs away into the corners of the small cave.
Really good. Okay, next monster. Usually I don't have as much. So the leech bear is not frightened by the barking, by the light. It's coming, and it seems to have a sort of smile on his face, even if it's the rotted face of something that was a bear and is dead for a long time. It's not easy to yeah, no lip smiles. Exactly. And then it speaks in a low voice, saying something like, "You won't be able to hide between the light forever, small ones. I will eat you, eat your souls." And then the voice of fright is heard once again. It says, "Never, never. I will burn you. I will burn even if you are the last thing I burn." And you can see that the small one is shivering. And it's something you don't see often, a being made of clay that's shivering like that. Cracks are appearing directly on the surface of Fright's skin or surface. And light is coming about from those cracks. And Fright just make a step towards the monster, which will point a claw, an awful claw, toward Fright. And the black energy is coming, trying to snuff out the light of Fright from the bear. Okay. That was my third monster token. So I'll give you just a few more minutes to think about it. And if you want to help, you can. If you don't want, you can also. It's no problem for me.
Did you say that we could help by like recounting a flashback scene where Fright was the hero or something?
Absolutely.
Because I really want to, and that cost me a treasure as well. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll spend one of my treasures. I want everyone to remember the when we were taking the treasure from the skeevies. I think they're probably like about the same. So for Spine before, it was like a book full of these things, and it was like, that's kind of creepy or whatever. For Fright, it was like monstrous creatures, right? And Fright's like holding one back with a hand and like kicking another one with a foot. And I think that's just the scene that I want to have of like Fright being almost overcome by these very, very small wriggly creatures. And then from inside, it's probably, I think we're getting like this double perspective of so there's the shot of Fright glowing and then exploding into flame, and the skeevies going everywhere, and it looks huge. And then we see that same image, but from the position of the rest of the group, and it's just like this like little puff of flame. and the skeevies burn away, and like they shriek and shrink back, and their wounds cauterize, and then it's just like triumphant Fright.
Nice. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Fourth one. And actually, it's almost the same that you can see happening. The shadow is engulfing, the shadow from the bear is engulfing the small Fright. And he bursts up in flames. For him, it's like a bonfire or whatever. Really, really big, but for you, it's only a small flame. But the shadows go away for a moment. They retreat. And the leech bear is laughing. He's saying something like, "Do you think that you can beat my shadows using such a small flame? You are nothing. You don't even have a soul." And at that moment, Fright is frozen. These are the words that he wanted to never hear again. He tries to muster some courage. And to do that is forming with his flames the image of Masha, mother of all, above him. But the lich bear is too strong. And the shadows just engulf the image and make it go away. And unless you can help again, I think that will be it for the night. You tell me.
I've got to help.
Okay.
So this memory of Fright saving the day is really early on in this cave mission. Once the little team of adventurers had managed to crack a puzzle to get into the dungeon, there was some booby traps that were released. A dozen wafting shadows. What are they?
Whatever.
Yeah. And everyone was like fighting for their lives, and there was, screeching from these wraith-like creatures and all these telekinesis going on, and like the dark mist again, and Cedar's throwing like special powders at the mist, and Chiazuk is like fighting some creature, and we have Spine reciting some ancient words of wisdom to like keep these creatures at bay. And Masha, mother of all, is frozen stiff. She is scared and she doesn't know what to do. Should she reach for her staff? Should she recite some ancient poetry, or should she, just tell everyone to run away because this mission's too much? And little Fright just reaches up a little clay hand and takes her shaking hand and just looks up at her and gives her a little clay smile. And then through the power of their long-lasting friendship and love, they're able to fight off those demons. And Masha remembers the exact words that she has to say at the exact time of like stomping her staff. And
Amazing. Thank you. It's wonderful. But I guess it is not yet enough. And those memories make the fire burn brighter, and the image that was engulfed in shadows just make the shadow burst, and there are no more. Only the lich bear stands in front of the small clay doll. Its clothing has burned, and you can all see that it's actually a small clay doll. Not very frightening, not very dangerous, with only 2 small flames burning inside his eyes. And Fright look to the rest of the group, to the rest of the party, and it decides that the time has come. And he begins to walk towards the bear. And then he runs, and then he jumps just into the teeth and the mouth of the leech bear, where he hopes he can burst into flames to burn the awful thing away. Maybe not defeat him, but just make him go away. And I don't know what you think, but I think this is the end of Fright. But yeah, so this is the end of Fright. It bursts into flames and then disappear, having saved the group. And it's actually quite fun, because if you go into epilogue mode, I have 2 monsters and 1 treasure. So it's a bad ending, but with something positive. So I think this will be the epilogue of Fright, going into flame into the mouth of the awful leech bear, and making the leech bear go away, so the others can spend the rest of this time safe. Yeah, that's for me. Thank you. I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think you understood the way we will take this from now on. So each of us can tell a small epilogue about their character, and usually you can go almost as you want, but usually the monsters are negative things, the treasures are good things. You can use your treasures to describe how you emerge from the dungeon, having concluded your quest, or you can tell whatever you want about your character. For example, I've once described the character surviving the dungeon, but becoming the old mad person in the town that warns the adventurers that the dungeon is very dangerous and they should not go there. That's one example. So each of you.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking something a little along those lines for Spine. Spine makes it out, and I think never returns to the secret book. But and I think a lot of the books are actually kind of destroyed now anyway. There's only fragments of theirs stories remaining. But I think what she does do, I think actually, yeah, we see her kind of on the corner in a city, like orating this the story of this story of the mother of all and the clay doll. And I think maybe there's we see heaps of people just walking past and not paying any attention. But then I think maybe we see this small girl standing watching, that's holding a doll, and for a moment it looks like exactly like that young girl and the clay doll, and then I think Spine looks away and looks back, and it's just some other kid with a doll. Or is it?
I think for Cedar, it's almost like this experience is pulled. He was looking for his dream, but it actually pulled some of his vigor and life for the future. And I think you find Cedar, 6 months to a year later, isn't part of the secret book anymore. Has gone his own way, and I think he is, the epilogue of Cedar is he's just in a really wooded area, out in the wilderness somewhere, and I think there's like he pulls out, rummages and pulls out from one of his bags, finally, a couple of bones from that den, and some, baked clay or some sort of remnants there as well. And you can see that Cedar's like fashioning something out of it, and I think makes a whistle out of the a flute. What is it, like, out of the bone, and then he's just quietly playing a sad melody to himself, trying to tune it.
Lottie makes a decision, like the Lich is defeated and, the leader is dead. This little clay servant died. She doesn't want to go. She's even more cynical than before. It's like, what's gold gonna do? I've got all the bones I could chew on here. I could look after my master and stay by this new friend that died. Like, as soon as I was starting to get some sort of like trust for him, and yeah, just gonna spend the rest of the days slinking around this dungeon, chewing on the bones of the dead, barking at shadows.
It's what she did best.
She died doing what she loved, eating a bone. We see them sitting around the campfire, deeper into the dungeon, and they look like tired and aged. They look like they've aged a lot more than a human would age in this time, and it's really clear to them that they're never gonna make it to the world bear to lay their eggs and pass on their family and to continue their memories, as is their only duty in life. And while they're like quiet and reserved and in their own space, we can hear the rest of the group talking and like sharing stories around the thing. And oh, this is bad, but it's not as bad as the time we were over here doing this and this thing happened, and telling stories of the now absent Fright. And we see this like little bug head raise, and probably one of the antennae go up and one of the antennae go down, which is like the bug version of a dog turning its head on the side. And they just like kind of sit there and listen to other people's memories and realize that that memories of them and their stories are going to be passed on, just not by their own family. And they just kind of listen and take in your stories, and hope that you'll tell theirs another time.
Yay!
Yeah. Really good way to end the story.
And you made me sad. Your game made me sad.
Thank you very much.
Like a sad story.
I really like this one. So this is it. if you want to discuss, have any impression you want to give or anything, just feel free to do it. And I'm hoping someday to translate this game into English. Someday. I don't know if I will begin with this one or with the original one, which is the same base, but it's set in a Nordic tribe, a northern tribe, inspired by the people in the north of Finland, the Sami, so the indigenous people of Europe. And you play a family, members of one family inside a tribe who are cursed with nightmares. So there is no monsters, but there are nightmares. There is no treasures, but there are bonds within the family. And the economy of the game is quite similar to this. During the night, one of the family describe his nightmares, and the other can help telling happy memories from the family. So that's the first one I wrote. Then this one, and I have two others that I'm working on. One that is inspired by the Netflix series Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and it's absolutely amazing to play. And one other that's around rock bands, actually, on the last tour or something like that. So yeah, that's
all of them.
Okay. I think that if I can translate or have translated the first one, it will be okay.
Yeah, I would really love to play that.
Yeah.
That first one. Yeah, dreams are so evocative, and if you can like hit on the things that drive you without like sending you over the edge, then that'll be
usually it works for me because it's a game I've began working on for the Game Chef. That's in 2015, I guess. The theme was a game for another public, and I was trying to write a game for my family because I've never really played. I have two brothers with which I've played, but with my parents, I've never played role-playing games. So I was trying to find that, but the game is a bit too harsh to play with them. It moves some feelings about family, and I'm not really ready to play it with them. But for me, the game works very, very well. I don't know. I have a few audience. I've sold maybe 100 or 200 of them. So people like the game, I guess, in France at least. So if I translate it, I will send it to you or find a way to send it to you. And I've talked enough.
You guys
go. All right, you unmuted first. So, you muted first. Sorry. So that means I have to talk. I want to say, Julien, how much of a joy it was to play with you. You, you said you were nervous at the start and all that sort of stuff, but you like really ran this really well, and you're so interesting, and your character was so great, and like I felt like the four of us have been playing together forever, but I felt like you and us had been playing together for like years, the way that we just kind of had the same tone and the same vibes, and it was just a really pleasant experience, and I'm so grateful that we had this opportunity.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very nice. As I've said before, I've not played in English. I think I've done it once or twice. So it's not easy at the beginning. Have you seen? I just went head on into the game without even presenting myself and so on. So thank you very much to have reminded me to do that because usually I am polite. Usually I can do that, but I'm really, really glad to have done that with you. And thank you very much for all you brought to the game and your patience and so on. So really, thank you very much. A checklist, okay.
Yeah, I had heaps and heaps of fun, and now I'm going to go to bed so I can get up in 3 hours and play more games. But it was really lovely to meet you. I hope to see all of your awesome games appearing in a language that I can speak and read. Yeah. Lovely to play with all of you guys as well. Ellen, see you in 1 second. I'm gonna log off.
Cool. Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you so
Lovely
much.
playing with you, Lou.
Bye.
Bye, Luke. I love you.
Love you.
Bye,
Bye.
catch you later.
Catch ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much big thank yous for this game.
Mhm.
I really love the mechanics, and I really love the openness of like the world and the game. Like I like the idea of taking the similar kind of mechanics and putting it in a more structured world, like your indigenous European style nightmare game. But yeah, it's so great to like be in a dungeon and go, well, you don't have to be like any particular thing. Don't worry about stats. You just smash it out. And we're actually more interested in like the dynamics between the characters, which you know, the games that I play, that's what everyone's more interested in. Thank you.
Sid, by the way, I really enjoyed your character. It was really, really cool to have such a like alien type presentation and like such a heart, you know, like the family, the orientation and emotional space of your character is really, really cool and interesting. And I love that I like that, and Cedar just like, what?
Thank you. Yeah, it's almost a shame we don't get to explore like a lot of that stuff a lot more, but that's just them's the Gauntlet Con rubs, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is how that works. And Julian, the storytelling in this game really for me feels a lot like a bedtime story. Like it has that pacing, I think is the thing. Yeah. That's pacing where you're getting the episodic and you're just wanting to stay up more and hear just a little bit more, you know, like
And I guess like the moralistic feel of it too, like the monsters and treasures as kind of like morals, like are you going to do the good thing or are you going to do the bad thing? But if you do the good thing, there's consequences. If you do the bad thing, you know, yeah, I get that.
Actually, I've just released on drive-through the PDF for the French version of the game on Pay What You Want. So if you ever want to look at the game in French, you can download it for free. It's called De Mauvais Rêves. So I can give you a link. But if you don't read French, I think it's a bit too hard.
Very difficult language for me.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
even for us.
It's. I'm saying this from a position as someone who doesn't have to do any of the work. It's a crime that this game isn't in English, and I really think it should. And I'm so I feel so lucky to have had the chance to play it, and I think that I think that it's the kind of game that the English-speaking RPG community would love. Like, it's really reminiscent of Swords Without Master for me, and that's like people love that for very similar reasons. And yeah, I reckon, yeah. I would call this Feelings Without Master. It's like Swords Without Master, but it's so much more focused on the individual, which is my biggest problem with that system. So like, I'm loving it. I'm all about it. It needs to be in the hands of every boy and girl in the world.
I think I will try to translate it badly. So you might read it and maybe correct it. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a chat to Vivian, because he did that with Liberté, and Christo helped him by like, once it was mostly translated, kind of went through and circled things like idioms and stuff and was like, this isn't really how the English language will do things. But
yeah, we'll see about that. Okay, so thank you. I think that it's goodbye for now.
Are you doing this again in the rest of the?
No. I actually have only one slot here.
Oh, okay. Well,
maybe we can on the Gauntlet community do that another time. I think I will try to put this on. Maybe really not right now because I have quite a schedule now with conventions and so on in France. So
it's really good as a one shot, and I can see it working maybe like even with like a 3 or 4 session like little campaign that you can do over the Gauntlet.
I've never done it for 3 or 4 sessions for now, but this is something I want to explore. Yes, how you can maybe explore 2 different dungeons, or maybe the same one but a big one, like a mega dungeon or something like that. So I don't know.
Well, there's just so much. Like we could have, just camped heaps, and like there's just so many possibilities with it that it's really exciting.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll try to translate it quick. I've begun to do the work, but I have other stuff to write, so it's not easy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night. Goodbye.